Imagine this: a single click on an email. It seems harmless, routine even. But what if this click is the key that unlocks a Pandora's box to chaos within your organization? Welcome to FnPodcast, where today we dive into the unseen and often underestimated world of cyber threats. I'm Felipe, this is Luis, and in this episode titled From Click to Chaos, Dissecting a Phishing Attack's Domino Effect, we're going to unravel a true story, a story about how one click on a phishing email led to a cascade of events, turning an ordinary day into an IT nightmare and sending shockwaves through an entire organization. Join us as we discuss this incident layer by layer, exploring the tactics, the turmoil, and most importantly, the lessons that can help safeguard our digital domains against such deceptive dangers. So, are you ready to see how deep this rabbit hole goes? Let's get started. So, welcome, guys. Thank you for tuning in again. So today we're talking about basically phishing awareness, phishing attempts, basically what threat actors are doing to successfully engage and compromise infrastructures. We had a prospect contact us this week, basically claiming they were hacked. So to proceed, we obviously start the engagement process. We start further questioning. Apparently, some user was phished, and I think we all know that the human component is every organization's biggest, weakest link. After the user clicked on the phishing email on a URL, they proceeded to they mimicked Microsoft 365. Apparently, they mimicked a Microsoft 365 login page. They proceeded to log in, and that's how the threat actor basically was able to get the email address and password, which thereafter the threat actor created forwarding rules and started to send bulk emails internally the organization, and that's how they kind of move laterally, basically to try to, in efforts to try to further breach or compromise the infrastructure. And if they can land a global admin, that's it. They have full access to the kingdom. So basically, the malicious payload here is basically a URL within the email that mimics the 365. And it's pretty interesting enough that users, and it's not exactly a very secure way of doing it, but users were responding back to that email. Hey, is this safe? I mean, obviously the hacker has access to the email or mailbox, and they're going to respond, yes, it's safe, definitely click on the link. So the users proceed to log in. The hackers are sending bulk email out of this compromised mailbox, and then in efforts to try to get other users to click on, and they create forwarding rules so that when they respond, it just basically goes to a hidden folder and then deleted. And then that's how they kind of disguise the communication back and forth. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything to add to that,
Yeah, I was
Lewis?
gonna say there's I'm presenting a file here, but I don't know if you can click on it so we can see it as for the podcast. But here we're showing basically how this relates to this attack that Felipe mentioned, where the prospect in this case was hit with a typical phishing attack, credentials harvesting, where Felipe mentioned the sign-in page was sent to one of these mailboxes, and they actually logged into what might have been Microsoft's sign-in page, but it had maybe a different domain name on the top, or instead of Microsoft.com, it's MicroTik software, some or like some crazy URL that's completely different, but looks exactly like Microsoft's artwork. The sign-in button, it's the same. Everything looks very familiar because looks are
Yeah,
deceiving.
and it's very relatable. A lot of times, these threat actors are as going as far as purchasing relatable domains, like instead of office.com, officeemail.com or something so similar to Microsoft, or Microsoft with two F's, where if you quickly look at it, Microsoft.com, you kind of accept it because everyone lives in a fast-paced environment, which is why what hackers know, they know that, and which is why they're constantly going after the human component, which is the weakest link.
Correct. So here we have an example of the MITRE attack chain. We're going to just go into high level for each phase on how this attack was carried out. So the attacker, in this case, threat actor, they knew of the customer, the prospect, before they even launched the attack. They did a reconnaissance, right? That's the first step, getting to know who you're going to hack, right? So that's that's basically finding their social media, getting open source intelligence from Google, whatever ways it could be. Hey, look, someone posted on Facebook. This is like a Teams call we had, and from there they realized, oh, this person maybe uses Microsoft, so let me create a sign-in page for Microsoft, because I kind of understand now that they use Microsoft for emails, or even more sophisticated, they can just check the domain name and say, hey, this email has a domain record that says that they use Microsoft as a mail server. So
Right, easy to
step
find,
one,
absolutely.
step one is getting to understand your prey, right? Like the lion in the Sahara desert is kind of crawling, doing recon, looking at the gazelle, saying, hey, can I jump on it? Can I not? Same thing with the hackers. They're looking to see
Waiting for the right
gonna
moment.
be my my prey today. And then from there, once they have a good perspective on, hey, this person or this organization uses Microsoft 365 or Google, whatever, they have a weaponized attack, right? In this case, a landing page with sign on, which is the credentials harvesting. So they send out a phishing email, and it just takes that one user to mistake that sign-in page for
That
what was
email for
Microsoft,
something
and then
else. Yep.
now the credentials are gone. So in this case, we move further. So we went from step two to step three. So now that they have weaponized and successfully gotten the exploit done, which in this case is just credentials harvesting, they can move to do further damage. So in this case, they created email rules so that they can be man in the middle, and figure out what's relaying between recipients and senders. So they can basically see, okay, hey, what were the bank details for that? Let me change the routing numbers and all that stuff to this instead. So when the customer is actually trying to get wiring instructions, I change it in the middle. So no one knows that the instructions are changed except the threat actor, and the threat actor is just sitting in the middle. So, hey, there's a transaction happening. I'm going to sit in the middle and make sure that when he sends the legitimate wire instructions, I'm going to change it a little bit and send it to the right person so that they send me money. And this happens a lot in the title space, the mortgage space. For the last few years has
It
been one of
basically, and any
every
company
space.
that has very obviously they do a lot in revenue, but financial department, whether it be accounting, AR, AP, any of that stuff, they're constantly looking for that, where they can kind of, and they're controlling the whole situation, right? So they're, they, once the moment they see a wire transfer go through, they'll take that email, change it, resend it. When they respond, they intercept that email, filter it to another folder so that the real end user doesn't see it, or the recipient, and they continue that communication basically off the grid, from anywhere that user is not able to kind of like see that.
Correct. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that a business can learn from these situations is, what can I do to protect myself? So I know we're focusing on one and two and three here on the image. And there's a lot more that can go down the chain, but for the purpose of today's discussion, we're really just going to focus on the first three. So what are some layers here we can do in terms of reconnaissance? and how you can maybe protect yourself um, when it comes to that. Felipe, do you have
Right. Yeah,
anything
no, of
you'd like to
course. I
share with
think
our
I think
viewers?
ultimately it's about, and we're constantly talking about layering in security, but one of the biggest solutions here that you could be implementing is simple email security, right? Something that's going to go ahead and reduce the spam because ultimately hackers are just kind of spamming these domains, and if they catch somebody just kind of not paying attention, it's a win for them, right? So reducing the amount of emails and payloads that you guys an organization receives, right? Another one is if that compromise or spam email does get through, are we doing URL filtering, right? So once that URL is confirmed a threat, the email filtering product should disable that URL, basically from you clicking it, or basically from you proceeding next steps. In this particular case, the CFO of the business was kind of upset at the user, but I think that would be the wrong approach, because if you're not doing phishing awareness training, if you're not educating the end user, that is the business's fault. So, users just basically doing the work that they're being asked, and they're not looking out for these things. They don't know any better. So, I think from the IT and CFO's part, they should start implementing these training, awareness, education, constant education, ongoing education, right? That way you reduce the overall issue. So that would be like another form or another layer to protect the business. I would think, and you just kind of controlling that outcome. So those are a couple layers that you could implement. Very simple, very easy to implement, and very little cost, to implement this solution to begin with.
I think that's well said. It starts with, I'd also say, knowing what you have exposed. So on the reconnaissance side of things, do you have, you know, your domain privacy enabled? So can someone figure out your business's registration details? Do you have multi-factor authentication for for these sign-ons to be prevented so that they don't actually get a credential harvesting? Do you have a SOC team who's monitoring for logons? I think those are some more ways to also
Oh yeah,
uh, build
definitely.
build against that first front line. And then in the sense of when someone does get in, you have detection for forwarding rules. So can
Oh
can
yeah.
you detect whether someone's forwarding emails outside the organization? A lot of these new mail solutions like Microsoft, which we're a big proponent of, have by default uh, email forwarding disabled for new tenants. Legacy tenants, I think, don't have this, but you can enable this. So a lot of this comes from being prepared and making sure you think about these scenarios before they happen, because it's not when if they happen, is when. So having
Yeah.
all these plans in place ahead of time is
It's
huge.
important. Yeah, important to have a baseline security, and you can, with an easy Google search, implement a baseline where, exactly what you said. These little things, all these little things matter, and these are the layers that we keep constantly talking about, and it's constantly evolving, right? So it's not something that's a one and done. There's a lot of misconception where, hey, let's just set up this baseline and that's it. We're done. We're safe. No, it's and even even implementing this email security that we mentioned, that's not a one all be all solution. That's just again a layer that's going to help reduce the risk. That's ultimately what you're trying to do, go into offense and trying to reduce the threat vector, so that your business doesn't get compromised. In this situation, they had seems like zero security. Obviously, we tried to go in and do an incident response, an assessment. They rejected all this. So, at this point, we don't even know what the damages are, right? So, yeah, a couple mailboxes were compromised and sending bulk emails, this and that, but we don't know if they got access to a physical machine. We don't know if they actually got global admin creds. So, this is so critical, and this is the prime opportunity for this business to take action on this, and really close the gaps, on the security, the holes. The security posture of a business is so critical. If you don't want to lose the business, there's a baseline at least that you have to implement, in order to protect your bank account. Ultimately, that's what it boils down to.
Well said. Yeah, I definitely think baselining your business, creating all these layers ahead of time is a step one. Attackers are constantly making sure that they're up to date. We spoke about this a few episodes ago with AI, uh,
Oh yeah,
where the reconnaissance part of that is becoming super automatic. So these attackers are basically using ChatGPT to their advantage and really creating these like profiles. Hey, so and so customer, help me just get their DNS data. I want to know what mail server they have. I want
absolutely.
you to automatically send an email. I want you to frame it in this way, and they're basically running a very streamlined operation.
Oh
They
yeah,
have
it's bots, basically bots doing all the work for them, and then all they got to do is get that alert of that one person that clicked on it, that put in their credentials, that harvested, and then that's it, game over.
as we enter 2024, I think if you haven't done this already, it's a great time to maybe do an end of year checklist. Hey, how are my emails set up? Do I have multi-factor on all my accounts? Do I have some type of URL filtering? Can I maybe have a solution, a mail filter, like Felipe and I were speaking about earlier, to scan for viruses before or malicious link, reputation? Is this a legitimate link? Uh, there's services out there that will tell you, hey, this link has been reported by 10 organizations as a credential harvesting, so they'll block it for you. So there's a lot of power in using community and these tools that know how to, you know, create community awareness into a product.
Yeah,
So, that's
absolutely.
what we do at Function every day is learn from these experiences and keep on finding industry leading solutions to protect our customers because ultimately the hackers are getting better and we all need to keep getting better. Service
Yeah, and
providers,
in
customers, everyone.
Yeah, and in turn, we try to provide that value from what we learn back to the community, hence the podcast and other mediums. You can go to our website. But if you want a checklist, we're happy to provide you the checklist of the most cost-effective ways and baseline that you can implement into your organization. Just comment on the channel. Like us, and we're happy to email that to you guys and guide you in the right direction. Um, now, as we reach the end of our journey through the tangled web of a phishing attack and its far reaching consequences, it's clear that the line between security and vulnerability can be as thin as a single click. I'm Felipe, this is Luis, and you've been listening to FnPodcast, where today we ventured into the domino effect that a phishing incident can trigger. Remember, in the digital world, awareness is your armor and skepticism is a skill. Every email, every click counts. Let's carry forward the lessons learned, fortify our defenses, and spread the word about the subtle yet significant threats lurking in our inboxes. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening expedition. If today's episode resonated with you, share it with your colleagues, friends, and loved ones. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and above all, stay safe in the digital realm. Until next time, goodbye, and let's keep turning clicks into caution, not chaos.